Okay, welcome back. Happy Monday. I know you're so excited to be back. So excited to be back at the work. I know, right? Let's just dive in, shall we? So this question says the drawings show three stages of development of an embryo from a fish, salamander, turtle, and a chicken. Now we remember there's that word embryo. That is just a very fancy way of saying a brand new unborn baby of a certain offspring. So, of course, think about yourself, before you pop out of your mama's stomach, you're in there for 9-ish months, right? So, you don't automatically start out as a full grown baby. You start out as something small. And then as time goes on, you develop and grow and grow and grow. Okay? So, we've got that happening for a fish, salamander, turtle, and a chicken. Cool. So what information about evolutionary relationships can be inferred from the drawings? So remember, evolution, we're talking about whether or not things are related or share a common ancestor. And of course, we know that the more things look the same, the more likely they share a common ancestor. So if they look similar, they have a common ancestor. So since we know, looking at this first row here, this stage 1, look at those embryos. If we didn't already have what species they were labeled up top, there's no way we would have even been able to tell them apart. So we know that all 4 of these species must share a common ancestor. They are closely related evolutionarily, right? Okay, so they are all sharing a common ancestor. So choice A says since the fish, salamander, are similar in stage 2, here's stage 2, they must share a common ancestor. Okay, so far so good. But the turtle and chicken do not share a common ancestor. Well, that doesn't make any sense because look right here, the turtle and chicken look alike. So why can't they share a common ancestor? Remember, the more things look alike, the more they are going to share a common ancestor, the more closely related they are. So those two guys, they're going to be closely related. So it's not going to be A. B says even though all 4 organisms are different species, their similarity in stage 1 is evidence of a common ancestor. And that's exactly what we just said, right? Look how they are all so similar looking here in stage 1. They are all different species, but since they look identical once they are conceived, or right when the mother and the father join to make this offspring, we know that they are going to share a common ancestor. They're closely related. So absolutely. What's wrong with C? Since all 4 organisms are different species, any early embryo similarity is a coincidence because they cannot share a common ancestor. Well, that's just silly. That would be a crazy, crazy coincidence. And we know for a fact, we've talked about this 1,000 times, the more similar they look, the more likely they are related or share a common ancestor. D says even though the salamander and chicken, where are they? Salamander, chicken, are both vertebrates, the difference in the sizes of their eyes in stage 3 is evidence that they cannot have a common ancestor. So like there's their eye, there's the eye. So that's getting pretty nitpicky. Again, we know that just because obviously once they are fully developed, we know they're going to look different because they're different species. Chickens don't look like salamanders. Hello. But you always want to focus on these early embryos, see how similar they look. This is beautiful evidence that they're going to share a common ancestor. So the farther down you go in time, the more closely they look to each other, then they're even more closely related. So, like you can say, okay, this fish and salamander are very closely related, and the turtle and the chicken also very closely related to each other, more so than sorry, all these scribbles are confusing. The chicken's probably more related to the turtle than it is to the fish, right? Because further down in development, these two look very similar, but these two not as much. But even still, the evidence down here shows that they share a common ancestor. So we know the answer is going to be B because of that common ancestry. They all look so similar. So go ahead and type up B, tell me why it's correct, and I'll see you at direct instruction.